Theodore Golden's 1904 account reveals fatal errors and raw battlefield truth. He rode with Custer, watched him make his final mistake, and for 30 years he kept a secret that would rewrite history. This is Theodore Golden, one of the last living witnesses to Custer's last stand. In 1904, he broke his silence in a letter so explosive, the military buried it. Historians ignored it, until now. Today, we unseal his confession. You'll hear how Custer defied orders in a gamble for redemption, how his officers knew they were doomed hours before the massacre, and why the real tragedy wasn't just lost lives, but the truth. This isn't the sanitized legend from your textbooks. This is the story America never wanted you to hear. Custer's last secret, the eyewitness letter history. Ignored 1904, letter exposes harrowing truths of Custer's final battle. Theodore W. Golden, an ex-7th Cavalry trooper, guarded a profound secret. As among the final individuals to witness General Custer living, his direct testimony stands as an exceptional historical artifact. In 1904, he disclosed his narrative through correspondence, which we shall examine presently. But prior to commencing, kindly show your support by liking and subscribing to Foster Our Community. I acknowledge receipt of your communications dated July 28th and August 2nd, soliciting anecdotes regarding my personal observations and understanding of General Custer's ultimate conflict. The passage of time since that pivotal occurrence may have partially dimmed my recollections, and limited availability compels a somewhat disjointed recounting. Your publications on this matter, along with the entire sequence, have been reviewed with keen attention, and I am profoundly gratified to hear of their imminent release in bound form. Addressing your request, I shall confirm my acquaintance with General Custer commenced upon my enlistment in 1873 and endured until his premature death. I participated in campaigns alongside him in the regiment, barring 1875, when my unit was garrisoned in Southern territories. In early spring 1876, intelligence reached us concerning an expedition assembling against the Sioux, structured around 3 substantial columns. Several weeks afterward, marching directives arrived, prompting our battalion's transfer from near Shreveport, Louisiana, to Fort Lincoln, Dakota Territory. Upon arrival, General Custer was occupied providing testimony before an investigative body in Washington, rejoining the regiment mere days before our column's departure. Having been detained under arrest in Chicago while traveling from Washington, I shall omit particulars of our march from Fort Lincoln to the Yellowstone, attained near Powder River's mouth. We lingered there for days, equipping our pack train as the decision had been made to forsake wagons and erect a supply depot. Major Reno had earlier embarked on reconnaissance, planning to reunite with us near Tongue River's mouth on June 17th. Following preparations to leave our wagon train, dismounted recruits, and regimental band at Powder River, we relocated to Tongue River's mouth, establishing camp on June 17th. The very day General Crook clashed fiercely with Indians on the Rosebud. Throughout the day, we observed with intense focus every distant dust swirl traversing the river basin, hoping it heralded Major Reno's approach. Yet, with no word from him, we decamped on the 18th morning, advancing up the valley to unite with Reno shortly past noon. A shift in General Custer's disposition was palpable. He appeared sullen, dissatisfied, and uncharacteristically restless and perturbed. Upon Major Reno's arrival with his report, General Custer experienced a resurgence. His typical dynamism and resolve resurfaced as he promptly marshaled the command into marching formation, setting course for the Rosebud, where General Terry had preceded us aboard the supply steamer Far West, aiming to converge with General Gibbon's command, known to be proximate. Our march extended deep into the night, but we ultimately reached the Yellowstone and encamped, confident we could intercept the steamer if downstream. At dawn, we departed early and soon sighted General Gibbon's wagon train progressing upriver, trailed by the Far West. Couriers were sent to notify them of Reno's detection of a major Indian trail. We shortly encamped near Rosebud's Mouth, where a war council convened to scrutinize Reno's report. Subsequent days involved preparations for intensive operations. A conclusive council occurred aboard the steamer on the evening of the 21st, as I recall, wherein General Custer received his ultimate instructions, largely as you've outlined. As the council concluded, General Gibbon was queried regarding his arrival time at Little Bighorn River's mouth. He answered, "Not before noon on the 26th." During this conference, it was noted that General Custer had been offered the 2nd Cavalry Battalion and artillery transported on the steamer, but he refused both, professing faith in his command's prowess and apprehension that artillery might impede mobility near the foe. Numerous officers and men conjectured this was a premeditated strategy to secure independent command, as he had enjoyed previously. Nevertheless, his petition was approved. On June 22nd's afternoon, we paraded before Generals Terry and Gibbon, then embarked on the trail Major Reno had charted. Henceforth, we tracked the trail until Reno sighted the Indian village, diverging only to secure viable campsites. Contravening orders, no reconnaissance of the surrounding terrain occurred, nor were couriers dispatched to General Gibbon, despite Scout George Herendeen's attachment for that objective. Our marches were protracted and swift until the night of the 24th, when we diverged from the trail, ostensibly bedding down. This, however, was a feint to mislead the Indians, as directives mandated remaining saddled and equipped for a night march. From our Rosebud departure, General Custer's bearing altered. His former restless vigor resurged, and he appeared solely intent on locating and confronting the Indians. Significantly, the trail originated from the Missouri River's direction and, per Bloody Knife and our Crow Scouts' assessments, suggested a contingent of 1,000 to 1,200 Indians, later identified as Missouri River Agency warriors. Near 11 o'clock, saddling and forming ranks commenced. Simultaneously, a scouting party, Crows, Reese, and officers, including Lieutenants Varnum and Hare, pushed ahead to scout the trail across the divide and locate the Indians. Leaving our bivouac, we resumed trailing, aiming to cross the divide and gain the Little Bighorn foothills cover before dawn. However, rugged topography and trail scouting difficulties impeded progress. Daybreak found us in a ravine at High Bluff's base, unsure of our river proximity. That night, reports indicated General Custer had ridden ahead to the scouts. At dawn, they notified him of the village's location in the Little Bighorn Valley. General Custer reportedly voiced skepticism about their assertion. Meanwhile, our presence was detected, evidenced by a lost ammunition box, actually containing hardtack, retrieved by a detachment encountering Indians attempting to open it. Receiving this intelligence, General Custer seemingly resolved on an immediate offensive. As the command subdivided, Mitch Boyer, a half-breed Crow interpreter, cautioned General Custer that the valley contained more Indians than his command could manage. Custer inquired if Boyer feared to advance. Boyer responded he would follow Custer anywhere, but warned neither would exit the valley alive. Just before advancing, Lieutenant McIntosh detailed me to report as orderly to General Custer, which I did promptly. The general directed me to ride with Lieutenant Cook, our regimental adjutant, executing any assigned duties. During our pause, men had lain down, mostly sleeping, while horses grazed amid sagebrush. General Custer commanded the advance, ordering that the company and battalion ready first should take the lines right. Within minutes, all were mounted. During the halt, Benteen's battalion received orders to scout leftward, driving Indians before them and reporting discoveries. Reno was to track the trail, while General Custer, commanding 5 troops, moved right, leaving McDougall's pack train to follow. We instantly commenced marching per these directives. After 30 minutes' arduous riding, difficult terrain forced Custer's column leftward, soon encountering Major Reno's command, advancing rapidly on the trail. After a taxing ascent, we gained a ridge summit, overlooking a rolling plateau descending toward river foothills roughly 5 miles distant. As we surmounted the divide, Reno's distant column appeared, hastening down the trail, while Benteen's command scouted bluffs miles to our left. We paralleled Reno's route distantly to his right. To those near Custer, he seemed impatient with our progress, periodically spurring ahead, then reining in to await us before galloping off anew. At this point, we discerned a massive dust cloud moving down the river valley, its cause unclear. Custer, accompanied only by his orderly trumpeter, rode toward the river, halting atop a high pinnacle where we witnessed him waving his hat, apparently saluting distant figures. He then returned to Captain Keogh's lead troop, veterans of countless engagements. Eyes ablaze, Custer exclaimed to Keogh, "Those Indians flee. If we sustain pursuit, we can sacrifice half our horses." Keogh, with parade ground composure, turned in his saddle, surveyed the eager column, and replied, "General, we'll accomplish all within human and equine power." Moments later, bugles sounded the charge, the first since departing the Rosebud, and we thundered northward downriver, attempting descent into the valley below, repeatedly failing. After perhaps the third failed descent attempt, General Custer conferred briefly with Captain Cook, who hastily scribbled a note, folded it, and summoned an orderly. I responded first. Cook handed me the paper, ordering, "Deliver this to Major Reno. Remain with him until we unite, then report instantly." He departed. Instantly the column's rear galloped past me, vanishing into ravines. Momentarily I gazed after them, then realized my isolation in hostile land. I hastened toward Reno's command, located by their dust cloud. Fortuitously, harassment was minimal, only distant shots spurred me onward. After 6 miles, I reached Reno as he dismounted to engage afoot. I delivered my dispatch, unaware of its contents. Reno glanced hastily and pocketed it. Around then, the re-scouts panicked, fleeing to Powder River's safety. Soon, Indians flanked and encircled us. We turned, repelling attacks until reaching timber, during which several horses fell and some stampeded. We retreated into the timber, securing better cover and resuming combat. Sheltered by timber and riverbank, we defended effectively briefly. Shortly after, Captain Moylan readied his troop. Lieutenant Wallace, nearby on the skirmish line, called to Captain French, commanding Center Company, inquiring about orders. French responded he had none but would ascertain them. Moments later he shouted he understood a charge was imminent, though uncommanded. He urged us to mount and bolster the charge. Preparing to mount, we discovered approximately 15 men dismounted, horses felled by fire or stampeded. Lieutenant McIntosh, horseless, commandeered Trooper McCormick's mount. McCormick resignedly stated we were doomed anyway, and he might as well die afoot. As we mounted and exited the timber, we were astounded to find Reno, instead of charging Indians, executing a tactical charge toward bluffs across the river. Realizing this, Indians massed on our flanks, unleashing heavy fire on our retreat, now a disordered rout. Fortunately, their aim faltered, minimizing losses initially. Reports claimed Reno discharged his revolver at Indians and discarded it. I attest this version proves incorrect, as the revolver remains, or recently remained, with General Benteen or his family. During retreat, I rode near the timber on our column's left flank when my horse collapsed, hurling me into sagebrush. Minor injuries, largely superficial, resulted. As I scrambled up, Lieutenant Wallace rode past, urging me toward the timber, declaring my horse killed. I didn't verify this, but heeded, dashing to the timber with scant hesitation, reaching it swiftly. Concealed, I witnessed our men driving horses into the boulder-strewn river. I observed Lieutenant Hodgson's horse leap into water, the lieutenant struggling, apparently wounded. He freed himself, grasping a passing trooper's stirrup strap to aid crossing. Upon reaching the bank, his wound was evident, but he persevered. The trooper tried assisting him astride, but dared not halt. Instantly, Hodgson seemed struck anew, losing his grip and falling. He staggered upright, seeking aid from another comrade who reined in to help. Just as rescue seemed assured, the second trooper flung up his arms, reeled, and fell heavily. Hodgson stumbled toward the ravine where the command vanished, falling again. Apparently recognizing retreat's futility, he confronted the Indians, drew his revolver, and fired. Instantly, 3 or 4 shots echoed from my riverside. I saw Hodgson reel and fall, sealing his fate. As our men crossed and ascended a ravine, I remained alone and unnoticed, Indians preoccupied with stripping and mutilating fallen comrades along the bank. Then, distant intense firing downriver signaled Custer's engagement. Fleeting village glimpses suggested he was as vastly outnumbered as we. Most nearby Indians abruptly dispersed, hastening toward the village's lower end. I spotted Scout George Herendeen nearby and hailed him. We reunited. He informed me our 15 dismounted men had reached timber roughly 200 yards away, but Indian fire thwarted their open ground advance toward the river. Departing Indians ignited the river bottom, perhaps masking movement or smoking out wounded. This smoke proved our salvation, enabling river approach under cover. We forded with difficulty and encountered a Crow scout directing us to our command, which we soon rejoined. Upon rejoining, we found Benteen's battalion present, but Custer's location remained unknown. We recounted witnessed events. Shortly, a white flag waved from the river bottom near Herendeen's and my former cover. Lieutenant Hare courageously crawled to a bluff vantage, signaling friendliness to the party below. They cautiously crossed, joining us, revealed as dismounted men abandoned during Reno's retreat. During the chaotic retreat, I noticed Lieutenant McIntosh, mounted on McCormick's horse, riding ahead. His lariat trailed, picket pin striking sagebrush hazardously. Men attempted warning him, seemingly unheard. Moments later, his horse fell. I couldn't discern if shot. Passing, I saw the lieutenant motionless, dead or stunned. We found him identically positioned the next day post-Indian departure. He had clearly perished. Standing on bluffs surveying the valley, I overheard a heated exchange nearby. Captain Weir declared, "By God, if you won't go, I will, and if we escape this, consequences will follow." He strode off. Shortly, I witnessed D Troop mount and advance toward distant firing. Without apparent orders, the entire command followed, except Benteen's and Godfrey's troops retaining military order. We progressed down valley until encountering Weir's troop, retreating under overwhelming Indian force. We hastily formed a line, repelling the advance until Weir's command passed through and reformed rearward. With their support, we withdrew and reorganized anew. Retreating further, Colonel Benteen, assuming sector leadership, told Lieutenant Wallace, "Wallace, further retreat is useless. Form your troop here, anchoring the right. We make a stand." Wallace smiled wryly. "I haven't a troop, only 2 men." Benteen laughed grimly. "Form yourself and your 2 men. I'll apprise you of our situation once ascertained." This nucleus formed our defensive line. Others joined. We sheltered behind sagebrush, erecting makeshift barricades and firing. We held the Indians off until nightfall granted respite. Night brought position adjustments, a corral and hospital establishment, and rudimentary entrenchment. Dawn renewed battle, continuing relentlessly until approximately 3 p.m., when Indians unexpectedly dismantled teepees, packed travois, and departed upriver, regrettably beyond rifle range. Twice that afternoon, volunteer water parties drew Indian fire. Regrettably, Madden, K Troop, was struck during the second attempt, suffering severe leg injuries necessitating amputation. We conveyed him to the hospital, where his leg was surgically removed overnight. The following day, Generals Terry and Gibbon arrived, bringing relief and news of the other battalion's fate. On the 28th, after conveying wounded across the river, we visited the battlefield, interring Custer's men. Save General Custer himself, few bodies lacked mutilation. Yet, as I recall, our fallen leader's remains bore no such desecration. Given limited space, I omit specific incidents or battle minutiae adequately covered in your article. Conferring with Army officers and frontier veterans revealed consensus on 3 primary disaster contributors. 1. Command fragmentation into 4 columns, roughly 15 miles from the battlefield, absent precise enemy location strength, caused critical mutual support failure. 2. Custer's premature arrival, nearly 24 hours ahead of schedule, proved disastrous. Third, loss of horses and surplus ammunition critically impaired command efficacy. As abler individuals have extensively examined this subject, I refrain from elaboration. My interactions with General Custer revealed recklessly courageous tendencies, risking without weighing odds. I've always believed one potential motive, despite orders, stemmed from his acute awareness of perceived disgrace following presidential treatment. He may have sought redemption through a daring, decisive victory, echoing his Ouachita triumph, reinstating himself publicly as a preeminent leader and Indian combatant. Regardless of motive, all must acknowledge he fought gallantly, ultimately sacrificing his life alongside comrades who had ridden with him to victory in prior battles. Very truly yours, Theo W. Golden. I trust this first-hand testimony provides fresh insight into the Battle of Little Bighorn during the Great Sioux War of 1876. Keep watching for more such content. I aspire to share additional first-hand battle accounts. Thus, have an excellent day, and I shall engage you on the next episode. Golden's letter vanished into archives, his truth suppressed for a generation. Why? Because it forces us to ask the unthinkable. Was Custer's last stand not a heroic last defense, but a suicide mission for redemption? Think about it. He refused reinforcements, ignored scouts, rode straight toward a force 5 times his size. Even his interpreter warned, "If we enter that valley?" So, was it courage or calamity? You tell me, because history isn't just written by winners, it's buried by those who fear what truth reveals about us all. That's why Golden's letter matters today. It's not just about 1876, it's about every story still hidden in locked drawers, every official report that smothers uncomfortable truths, and every time we choose legend over reality. Drop your verdict: reckless fool, tragic hero, or something darker? And if you dare uncover more buried secrets, smash that notification bell, because next week we expose the 1890 massacre they still won't teach you.